That's right, everybody. It's another live football episode of Tap Outs and Touchdowns. It's your guy, Bully Rye, and as always, the Omega to my Alpha, or the Alpha to my Omega, however it works. I don't know. I was trying something that didn't work. Banker Bill's with us. Bill, how's it going, man?
What's happening, man? It's football time. Let's talk.
It is football time, man. Listen, there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, training camp started. There's some wild contract negotiations taking place, wild contract signings and extensions that have happened. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it. I don't know how to sort of
hang on a second. Can I do so real quick? Shout out to Zach Thomas is getting inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
There you go.
Throwback jersey right there. Throwback logo, all in. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just proud of this man. I loved him as a player, and now there's a whole bunch of Zach Thomas stuff hitting the airwaves now because he's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And you just the more you see of him, the more you love him as a man. So shout out to Zach Thomas. Way to go, man.
Well, Banker Bill decked out in Dolphins garb. I'm back with my Lions garb this week. So we're ready for football, man. It is coming. Reminder, if you're watching this live, leave a comment wherever it is, whether you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. Leave a comment. We'll read it on the air. Let us know if there's something you want to hear us talking about tonight, and we'll work it into the show. But without further ado, let's get into NFL news and notes, and let's start off with the first, I guess, major injury that we've heard in the I guess training camp, and it didn't even take place at training camp. Nyheim Hines likely out for the year, and the Bills have worked out XFL's leading rusher from last year, Abram Smith. Bill, why did it take so long for someone to come take a look at Abram Smith?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question. That's a fantastic question because we talked about all the players that were playing like in the XFL championship game that we thought that would get invites to, or at least the playoffs, that would get invites to teams, and nobody came after Abram Smith, and he was by far and away the best rusher in the XFL last season. But I mean, that's just a workout, right? They're not.
He hasn't signed. He hasn't signed. Here's my concern. If I'm a franchise looking at Abram Smith, the XFL was 10 games. And at one time, the Washington.
I know where you're going with this. I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
And I don't know why I can't. The DC Defenders were the best running team in the league. They were running all over everybody between Smith, the quarterbacks, and everything else. And all of a sudden, they abandoned the run in lieu of their dynamic passing offense. But it also had to do with the fact that Abram Smith got banged up late in the season. I believe he missed a game or two at the end of the season. So if I'm an NFL franchise, yes, Abram Smith was electric at times. He was a bruiser, but he also got bruised. And if he can't handle a 10-game XFL season, maybe franchises are wondering if he can handle a 17-game NFL slate. I can't wait to get to this first comment here because that's next up on the list. Bill, big news out of Los Angeles in the way of the LA Chargers. Justin Herbert gets his contract extended before the end of his 4-year rookie deal. He has only played 3 years in the NFL, but the Chargers wasted no time. 5 years, $263 million. He is now, as from a year-to-year standpoint, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Like it was Jalen Hurts who held that moniker for about 9 days. Then it was Baltimore Ravens Lamar Jackson. And then 89 days later, Justin Herbert gets his contract extension. First question, Bill, is Justin Herbert deserving of this contract?
No. He's paid as the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's not. He's not even close. I mean, people love to like him as a top 5 quarterback. He's not. Go look at the statistics. It's not there. They love him. Oh, it's he needs weapons. Oh, he's never had weapons. Austin Eckler,
Mike Williams, Keenan Allen.
Keep going. Tell me when he hasn't had weapons.
I haven't heard the argument for Justin Herbert that he doesn't have the weapons in Los Angeles. I think he has. Well,
people say if you compliment him with weapons, he'll be good.
Well, whatever moron told you that Justin Herbert needs weapons is delusional. Mm-hmm. Through 3 years, Justin Herbert has over 14,000 passing yards, 94 touchdowns. Now he's got 35 interceptions In his 3 years, he threw 10, 15, and 10 interceptions in each season. So his stats are up there.
How
The
many
knock see, and that's what I was going to say. The knock that everybody is giving Justin Herbert right now
He's a loser. That's his
is that
problem.
he's only played in one playoff game.
He's a loser.
Now, here's the other argument for that. This is the quarterback market. And you know whose default for this quarterback market being as inflated as it is right now? Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns.
Right.
The Cleveland
That's
Browns.
stupidity. That was stupidity.
Yeah. The Cleveland Browns have done this. Have essentially inflated the quarterback market to where every single quarterback wants to one up the next one. Whereas Voldemort just foregone or forewent. What's the past tense of for?
I know you're about to say.
He gave up. You know what's funny is he wasn't
forewent. Make our own.
Yeah,
make our own.
Listen,
make our own word.
Aaron Rodgers would not work with the Packers and take less, but he took $33 million in a rework deal for the Jets. So while all these other quarterbacks are, I mean, granted, Aaron Rodgers is at the end of his career,
right?
But these young guys are looking to get their first big money contracts, and more power to them. And that brings us to our first comment. James Beach, thanks for tuning in and leaving the comment here. Since Herbert got his bag, Joe Burrow has to be next. So what kind of deal can we expect for Joe Burrow? The main difference I'm hearing about the quarterbacks in this league that have gotten these big money contracts, the Jalen Hurts, the Joe Burrow who's up next. Jalen Hurts went to a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow has gone to a Super Bowl. So again, I don't want to lean on the defense because the Chargers have had decent defenses, but for whatever reason, that the Chargers are now on the clock.
Yeah.
If they don't make a run at the playoffs in the next 2 years, there's going to be heads rolling in Los Angeles.
100%.
But again, seeing this contract here, what can we expect for Joe Burrow?
It's going to be huge. I mean, let's talk about this for real. You know, there's only been one quarterback that was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL that made it and won a Super Bowl.
And that was
his name is Patrick Mahomes. And he's going to continue for the next 10 years to take Justin Herbert out behind the woodshed and kick his tail. He is a better quarterback. It's true. And that you win in the NFL by having a good quarterback. And the Chargers must be okay with that. They're okay with Patrick Mahomes taking them behind the woodshed for the next 10 years and whooping their tail. They just paid their, I don't want to call him crappier. I hate to call him a loser, but the reality is he is. Like, there's his last year at Oregon, he was supposed to be the number one quarterback coming out of the draft his junior season. He did the right thing, which I love that he did this. And it's unfortunate, but he did the right thing and stayed in college. I like that. I like that he stayed in college. He wanted Oregon to win another year, right? That year, he didn't play as well. He dropped in the draft. He dropped to number 6. I believe it was number 6. The Tua was picked at number 5, correct? So that's a bummer. He lost money right there. But he's not have his stats been fantastic? I mean, he's now the measuring stick for young quarterbacks. That's what Justin Herbert is right now. But he hasn't won anything. Why did you sign him early? What are you doing?
Well, would you called him a loser through 3 years in the NFL?
He is. He's done nothing but lose.
Was Peyton Manning a loser coming
his first year? Yes. His first year, Peyton Manning was a loser, and then he started winning. Justin Herbert hadn't done that yet. 2 years ago, we were told that the Chargers had the roster, that they were loaded on both sides of the ball. And guess what? Justin Herbert was pretty good. He was good. He's a young kid. He's good. He didn't win a game.
14,000 yards through 3 years. He's going to push.
I said his stats are good. Dan Marino did fantastic. Dan Marino was a fantastic quarterback. And when I was a kid, they told me that he was the best quarterback in the NFL. And you know what the knock on Dan Marino is?
He doesn't have a Super Bowl.
Barely won a playoff game.
So is Dan Marino a loser?
Yes.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Heck yeah, he was.
He's a Hall of Famer, and you're calling Dan Marino a loser.
He was a fantastic passing quarterback, and he lost football games. Every time it was on the line, and I remember the worst one was the 1992 AFC Championship. They had a great roster that year. They had beat Buffalo in Buffalo that season. The AFC Championship was in Miami, and he got beat 29-10 by the Bills. That's what losers do. I'm serious.
No,
it's terrible. It's a hot take, right?
I love Bill coming in hot, man.
I was in high school, man. You know how tough that was to take that loss? Like, cry when you're 16 years old because Dan Marino scored 10 points against the Bills at home in the AFC title game. He played
Yeah.
terrible in that game.
I mean, listen, I still think it's too early to call Justin Herbert a loser. And sure, it's
Right
easy
now
to
he is.
say
Win a game.
easy.
Win
Well,
some playoff games.
it's easy to say that he hasn't earned this contract because he hasn't won any playoff games. But again, the market is what the market is. And so if his agent is able to go and negotiate this contract, more power to him. Listen, Justin Herbert can go out in week 1 and brutally injure his leg, and he's never able to play another snap in the game ever again.
And 133 million, I think, is all it's guaranteed. This is
Yes.
the NBA. They don't guarantee everything.
So the idea is that like maybe this contract will first of all can be reworked somewhere down the line to allow more addition to the Chargers, but it also this is his big money contract. He's not going to get paid like this again.
Well, that's not necessarily true. We're only talking 5 years. We're talking about a guy that will be just north of 30 by the time this contract is up. So yeah, he could get paid again. Quarterback is a different position than any other position in the NFL. Most players don't get paid beyond their first big money contract. Quarterbacks do
I don't think he's going to get another contract. I think this
because
is
he's a
his,
loser and he'll still not have won a playoff game in the next 5 years.
Well, I disagree
That
there.
sounds terrible. It
I
sounds
like-
terrible. But Ryan, you can't say that he's done anything yet. They just made him the highest paid player in the NFL, and a dude hasn't won a playoff game as a quarterback. That's awful. That's awful.
Listen, the Chargers are committing to their guy, and this was a commitment.
Well, the Chargers are going to continue to stink.
And they're having to pay the market value for their quarterback.
You know what? I might have to change my ranking. I think we just lost 2 more Chargers games in our predictions because they're going to continue to stink. Now they can't play. They can't pay other players. It's going to be bad.
I'm gonna respectfully disagree here. Again, if you're watching the live feed, we got a couple viewers on YouTube. Make sure you leave a comment in the thread underneath the video, and we'll read it live on the air. If there's something you want us to talk about or anything like that, feel free to leave it in the comments. We go from one contract extension to a contract, if you want to call it that. The running backs in the NFL, we talked about this last week. The running backs in the NFL had a sit-down meeting to discuss the treatment that they've been receiving by the owners of these franchises. And seemingly immediately after this meeting over, Saquon Barkley was like, okay, let me sign a 1-year deal with the Giants.
He signed basically the franchise tag.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a franchise tag though. Like,
right? No, it wasn't. He actually signed a 1-year contract. Yeah.
And it's worth up to $11 million because the franchise tag would have seen him get paid just south of $11 million.
Yeah, he went above the franchise. They were like, here, we're going to give you a little extra money if you'll shut up.
Listen,
it's like, okay, boss. Like, I'm done. Like that.
Did
that noise, man.
Did Saquon sort of like make it that much harder for running backs going forward?
You mean?
I mean, Josh Jacobs doesn't have a contract yet.
Right. Him signing the contract, does it lose all of the credibility that he was trying to push for last week, having Derrick Henry and all these guys put their their statements out there and then all of a sudden they say, okay, instead of 10-5, we'll give you 11. Will you be quiet? And he goes, oh yeah, sure. Within the week?
I mean, it's hard to fathom unless there's something in the contract similar to what Jimmy Garoppolo did when he reworked his deal last year to San Francisco, that it would have made him an unrestricted free agent, not free agent. And I haven't seen that in the contract, but I digress. PJ Steven, host of the wrestling show, chiming in, asking, we're talking about how many home runs a team in the NFL has hit in training camp.
7 home runs per inning.
I think, and I don't have it written down here, I think the bigger slap in the face to Saquon Barkley is that he shares an agent with fellow Giant and one of his fellow Giants and an offensive lineman who just got like a 5-year, $96 million extension to stay with the Giants as well. Like the day after Saquon signed this $11 million deal.
That.
Yeah.
That's brutal. Sorry, I was working on this other deal. But,
no.
And the guy that can make money.
Yeah. And legitimately they share an agent. And the day after Saquon gets his 1-year, $11 million deal, his coworker, both from an agent
or
standpoint
his
and a
teammate.
football standpoint,
Yeah.
just got big money, man. Like I don't know. I think it's sort of talking out of both ends of your mouth here. Signing the one
Oh,
year
Andrew
deal.
Thomas. Oh, Andrew
It
Thomas, the
is.
big offensive tackle that has come on as of late. Yeah,
Yeah, so just kind of outstanding,
that's good.
astounding to me that Saquon would sign this one-year deal after everything was made to be a big deal.
By the way,
The only
that
thing
was
that
a
it would
record extension, Ryan. A record for Andrew Thomas
the
as
only thing that
a
would
left
make
tackle.
sense to me about Saquon is if it is in his deal that he is an unrestricted free agent and non-taggable next season, because that means he can go wherever he wants. But I don't know. I haven't seen the contract.
I'm terrified. It is Saquon Barkley, and I think this is the right thing to do for the Giants because it's Saquon Barkley. Like the guy gets hurt every year almost. I mean, it was last year's first healthy season. Um, So yeah, I think he gets paid a lot of money right now, $11 million again. Like I said, you or I would be willing to spend a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people coming out of college, coming in out of the XFL that would be paid a lot less money to run into a bunch of fat guys.
Uh,
And he's getting paid a lot of money, right? And he's very good at it. So if he's going to have that kind of season, he's going to stay healthy, have a great year again, like you did last year, and then hopefully you'll get paid after next season. Just prove it to us.
There was once where we had a live show and you got to chime in with PJ Steven and I. It's PJ's turn tonight. He thought
I'm good with that.
yeah, he assumed what we were doing. He wants to know who your favorite mascot is and what wrestler would you compare said mascot to. Obviously you don't know wrestlers,
I'm going to go
but
with the chicken, and he's compared to Ric Flair.
the
Woo!
what chicken?
But the chicken, the goofy chicken
The
that
the
like takes
famous
his face.
chicken, like
The
his
chicken,
his name
yeah,
is the
he's just good.
famous chicken.
It's like a circus. I saw Ric
Wow.
Flair the other day. I saw a clip of him getting slapped by two women or something and freaked out. Like he
Oh,
was in a suit and they slapped him,
it
and
was a
he
wrestler.
grabbed
It's
the
probably a
mic.
wrestling angle. Yeah.
Yeah, he grabbed the mic and he's like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I was like, "Was he? What, did you know that was going to happen?"
Of,
I
of,
laughed. It was good
of
comedy.
course, but it's acting, man.
I
Listen,
know. No, it's not. It's all. It's all.
I don't know if I can. I mean, obviously, my favorite mascot is going to be my Homer pick and Cocky. Um, if I had to compare him to a wrestler,
You have to like be a Homer wrestler. Is
I
that
don't know if he'd be a Homer wrestler
is
because,
Hayden
like,
Hurst going to be a wrestler at some point? Maybe you could pick
I
him.
don't, I don't
He's
think
not going to get
so.
1,000 yards either.
I can't wait till we have our bold pick show. Reminder: if you're watching the show live with us, leave a comment. I'm gonna say Cocky, and you'll have to come back with what wrestler.
Neither of them getting 1,000 yards this
Um,
season.
I get another comment when I mention Cocky. Aaron
Wow.
Thompson, main sponsor of the show, says Cocky stupid. Whereas his Clemson Tiger mascot just eloquently named the Tiger.
Isn't that what that creepy looking tiger?
He's
Isn't
the
that?
one with
Yeah,
the goofy eyes, like he's
he's
on
creepy.
shrooms. Yeah,
Yeah, he's
he's
creepy.
the drug addict
That's when you
tiger.
showed it to me. I'm like, ooh, that's their I didn't
Yeah,
realize that.
this is the Clemson mascot. Yeah, crackhead tiger here. Um, a couple more things we get to before we get into our AFC predictions here. Training camp started within the last week. Um, Bill with a bunch of new faces and new places and draft picks. There's only one draft pick in 2023 that has not signed, and that is the second round draft pick for the Seattle Seahawks. They can't come to agreement come to terms on a deal. Who has the most to prove in training camp to sort of illustrate themselves and boost themselves as a
Wow. You
legit
want me to
contender
pick
this
out of the
NFL season?
entire NFL to tell you
Yeah.
that? Let's go with this one. I mean, I feel like it's the same team. I think Brock Purdy. It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not he can throw.
So the 49ers is who you're going with.
I keep going.
Yeah,
I still think there's a tremendous amount of pressure on that team as a whole.
I'm with you.
If they get beat by the Seahawks, because Seahawks look like they have a pretty good roster. I think if they get beat by the Seahawks again, like that's going to be kind of a running theme. Um, I think they're that GM. I mean, they seem to have a lot of, I guess, a lot of backing, a lot of support from their ownership group. I feel like
Yeah.
John Lynch and Mike Shanahan, um, or Kyle Shanahan, sorry, Mike's old. Kyle Shanahan, they have like a lot of support, I think. And I feel like if they screw this one up and they've, done the weird things that they have, like Garoppolo, and he's not very good, even though he's over 100 passer rating, and I just feel like if Brock Purdy doesn't play well, or if Brock Purdy can't throw, and then they put in the, um, what's his name? Trey Lance. Is it Trey Lance that is their
Yeah,
other quarterback? I always get him confused with Jordan Love. But
because
if
they're
Trey
both
Lance
because they're
was in
both
there,
awful.
pretty much, yeah, and terrible, way too high draft picks.
Yeah.
Um, but if that doesn't happen down there, I have to wonder if the ownership group's going to get frustrated because that you got to do something, right? I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff that's gone on down there that you just kind of feel like they got to win, and Brock Purdy's got to come out and show us that his arm works, and they don't really have another option because they got rid of Garoppolo, over 100 passer rating, by the way.
Listen, I'm with you. And I'm going to raise you my next topic here before we take our first ad break. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions, of course, is
Ooh,
going to be a homer pick here. But you talk about new faces. Both of their running backs from last year are gone. Jamal Williams, DeAndre Smith. Jamal Williams down in New Orleans. DeAndre Swift now in Philadelphia. They've got a new rookie running back in Jahmyr Gibbs that is said to add some speed to this offense. Jamison Williams already banged up again in the offseason, and he's suspended for the first 6 weeks. And they're getting a lot of hype, primarily because obviously Rodgers is out of Green Bay. There's not a lot of people that have faith in Chicago. And Minnesota last year won the division, but they won more close games than anybody in the league. And then they get beat bad by Daniel Jones and the Giants in the playoffs. Whereas if, given maybe an extra couple weeks in the season, the Detroit Lions may have won that division last year. Which brings me to my question, Bill. Is the hype for the Detroit Lions unwarranted? Is it too early to be talking about how good the Lions are going to be this year? Because there are a lot of national pundits and quote unquote experts on our sports
and us,
television
and us,
and myself that are
me,
very high
I
on the
do too.
Lions.
I see
Are
12-5.
yeah, are we too are we too deep with the Lions too early?
Yeah, yes. You get excited about it too. You can get excited about the Lions. I think you're a Lions fan,
Yeah.
unfortunately for you. But I feel your pain. I mean, hey, it's been 20 years of losing for the Dolphins as well, so it's not like just the Lions. It's been like forever, but I mean, the Dolphins. It's been 20 years. But I think with the Lions, you can get excited. I think that they showed at the end of the season last season that they can be a winning team. They can be a pretty good team, and they figured it out mid-season, which you would think that's going to carry over because what did they figure out? It was the same roster. They traded a good tight end away. You're thinking they're going to get worse, and suddenly they start winning games. So that doesn't make a tremendous amount of sense to anybody. So that's why you figure they figured something else out, right? So yeah, I think there should be a lot of optimism. So I think you can go into the season thinking positively, but at the same time, they're not the Chiefs, they're not the Patriots of 5 years ago. They're not. You don't know what you're basing your optimism on, except for the fact that they figured it out at the end of last season. So yeah, I think it's tough to you can't feel really good about it. But I think a lot of people are picking them to be good just because of how they finished last season, and that makes sense. But also, it could just be a house of cards and come crashing down, week 4.
Listen, as a Lions fan, I'm gonna let you know. I think we need to pump the brakes on the Lions just a little bit,
Right.
only because of the fact that they've got Marvin Jones back. They went and drafted a tight end to replace Hawkinson with. There,
Overdrafted.
we don't know what the running back situation is going to look like with Jahmyr Gibbs. If he stays healthier than DeAndre Swift did, then they may be that Jahmyr Gibbs away from being
Sure.
a stellar, explosive offense.
Sure.
Let's take a quick break and talk about a sponsor before we get into the AFC predictions. And he's made a couple of appearances on the show already tonight, and that's Aaron Thompson's business, Carolina Business Equipment, with offices in Charleston, Greenville, Columbia, and Florence. Carolina Business Equipment can supply your copiers, computers, and printers anywhere in the state of South Carolina. Call my best friend, Aaron Thompson, at 843-452-8761 for a quote today, and make sure you tell him that Ryan from Tap House and Touchdown sent you. Carolina Business Equipment, you worry about your business. Let us handle your technology. Quick note, I'm pretty sure that Aaron came up with that tagline. I could be wrong, but if he came up with that tagline, well done, sir.
I
Uh,
It makes me uncomfortable every time I hear it, but I like it
it
now.
should, you know what? You could get with your job and talk to your higher ups. Like, listen,
Yeah.
I don't know who's supplying printers and IT outside of yourself.
Right.
But I got a guy that
I
can
got
hook us up. We can get some printers on the
got
cheap
it.
sheet. So
Anyway,
Yeah, Bill, let's get into our week. Last week we went through our 2023 way too early NFC predictions. This week we are going AFC predictions. A lot of really good teams in the AFC. I mean, for the last seemingly 5 to 10 years, most of the talent, most of the stud teams, most of the really good teams have come out of the AFC. I mean, there was the year where we had. I mean, you got to think the NFC has won a bunch of Super Bowls. I mean, the Bucks won it with Brady's first year. The Rams won it with Stafford's first year, and the Eagles almost won it with Jalen Hurts last year. But I feel like the bulk of the really good teams in the AFC or in the NFL come out of the AFC, but they don't come out of this division, the AFC South. Bill, uh,
wonder
I
why that is, Ryan. I don't know.
listen. Last year, it was Tennessee's division to win,
Yeah.
and they all but gave it away at the end of the season. Derrick Henry was banged up a little bit last year. We had the emergence of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who looked like they weren't going to do much in year one under Urban Meyer. Obviously, Urban Meyer didn't make it a full season. Real quick, shout out to everybody watching the stream here. Desmond Johnson, producer and connoisseur of the Tobacco Road Sports Radio Network, Eddie McDonald, and again, PJ Steven here watching. If you're watching live with us, leave a comment wherever it is that you're watching. We'll read it on the show and we'll talk about it and discuss it here. But getting back to the AFC South, the Jags emerged with the option of not only Trevor Lawrence really kind of coming into his own in year two in the NFL, but his old Clemson running back, and of course his name is escaping, Travis Etienne, emerged as a dual threat guy for this Jacksonville Jaguars offense, and they stymied people with their defense last year, and then of course you had the Colts on their like fifth quarterback in 4 seasons, and the Texans who I don't even remember who their starting quarterback was last year. Davis Mills.
Yeah.
So Bill, let's hear your AFC South predictions here in 2023.
You know, I honestly I thought about going back and you and I talked before the show and said, you know, I told you my rankings and things like that. And now that I look at them, I'm like, what am I thinking? But, you know, I told you how I did this. I went to every game and I said, who's going to win that game? And I decided, you know, try to come up with some. And I think there are some very bad teams in the AFC South. Very bad teams. And we talked about it. One of them drafted a quarterback that is from my school, and I absolutely think that GM is getting fired within 3 years. I think we agree.
Yeah,
I still do.
We've talked about that ad nauseum.
Yeah, and I think
on
that
this
process
show
starts this season. I'm so excited to watch it. I am going to watch more Colts games than probably anybody else that's not a Colts fan, just to watch them fail.
Yeah.
But I feel like I want to start from the bottom for that reason, but we'll start from the top. I have Jacksonville winning that division. I think that's warranted. I think we will continue to see Trevor Edwards or
Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, I got you.
I don't know why I said that. That's a guy who races in my league. Trevor Lawrence, yeah, and Travis Etienne. I think Etienne became very, very explosive last season. They traded what's his name? Was it James Robinson that was the other running back?
Yeah.
It was there. They traded him away. I think he ended up with the Jets,
and he got cut. The Jets cut him.
Yeah, and he was a good running back at the time, and then Etienne looked so much better and I was at that time like, whoa, this guy was injured, and you just bring, anyway. So I think they're going to continue their ascent. I think that's going to be a better team. So I see Jacksonville at 12-5. Also in that division, I think Tennessee makes a rebound. I think DeAndre Hopkins, while he is washed up and isn't going to have a great season, there are going to be a lot of teams that are very nervous about him. So he's going to give them a little bit of the A.J. Brown effect in Tennessee. Yeah. And I think Derrick Henry's still not done. I think that guy is still terrifying. He still weighs 245 pounds. He can probably still run a 4.3. The guy's
give me 1 second. I got to give a shout out to Trey Tolles leaving a comment on the Facebook thread. What's up, Trey? I'm actually going to talk about that at the end of the show in Homer's Corner. So stay tuned. We're going to get to talk about that. But Bill, go ahead. Let's hear how you end the AFC South.
Hang on a second. I got to figure out how to get it on here. There is a 17 on this hat. I can't figure out how to get it on here. You see right there?
There it is. Yeah, there it is. No, it's
I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
This is a Ryan Tannehill hat. It is actually customized for Ryan Tannehill. He is going to be healthy again this season, and I think they are a lot better because of it. I think he's going to bounce back just a little bit. And I also have the Tennessee Titans. I call them the Tennessee Tannehills. I have them at 12-5.
But listen, I'll go ahead and match you here. I have the Jaguars at 12-5 as well, winning the AFC South.
Wow, look at that.
but I have the Titans at 10-7. Uh,
Okay.
Derrick Henry got banged up last year.
Okay.
And when you have a big body bruising running back like that who's getting banged up, nine times out of 10, that starts the decline of their career. Like he's now on the downslope, in my opinion. Uh, Not to mention, I know you're a Tannehill guy, as am I. But they drafted Will Levis in the second round, and they're still sitting on Malik Willis. I've made comments on other shows that I wouldn't be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons went and tried to trade for Malik Willis because Desmond Ridder isn't the answer in Atlanta. But because there's so many questions as who's going to play quarterback for the Tennessee Titans, I don't think that Derrick Henry is ever going to play a full 17 game season in the NFL again. And for that reason, I've got the Titans going 10-7. I mean, they're going to be a good football team.
Still a good team.
They were a good football team last year. They're going to continue. I think Mike Vrabel, isn't that the name of their head coach? Mike Vrabel is a tremendous coach. But they traded away their best receiving threat in A.J. Brown for seemingly next to nothing.
That they signed.
Another.
And you, the last couple shows, or like at least last couple shows leading up to the show, you kept telling us how good DeAndre Hopkins is still going to be.
I think he is, but
I don't think so. But I still think that they're a good team, and I think it's mainly because of they still have that threat of Henry and Tannehill.
Let me give you this. I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be more productive in Tennessee than Julio Jones was. That's not saying much. But we've also made comments that Tennessee is where wide receivers
go to die. Yeah.
So I think DeAndre Hopkins he's going to give them an option in the passing game. But I don't foresee him being a Pro Bowl type wide receiver, especially with all the receivers in the AFC. Is not going to happen. Bill, who you got finishing third?
I got Britt Van Meter in the comments here. Said a friend of mine saying the Titans are going to win the South, and I don't agree with that because I think the Jaguars are going to win the South, but I think the Titans are going to be very good. They're in the playoffs, so I think that's where they should be.
Do I have them in the playoffs in my standings? Let me look real quick.
Yeah,
I do. They're the final wild card team in my playoff list. So there's that. All right, I think we have the same 3 and 4, but just with different records.
Yeah, they're both terrible. I have both Indy and Houston at 2-15. Garbage.
I've got them.
They
a
lose
little
every conference game. I think they beat each other or something like that. It's just awful.
I've got them. I've actually got them both at 4-13.
Wow. Who are they beating, Ryan? They're terrible.
I'm looking at it right now. I've got Indianapolis. If you bear with me here, I've got Indianapolis beating Tampa Bay, winning a game at Tennessee that they shouldn't win, and then beating Vegas and Houston at the end of the season. And then who's the other team we're looking at? We're looking at Indianapolis and Houston.
Beating Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas. I think Vegas is going to fall off.
Wow.
Yeah, Vegas is going to fall off at the end of the year.
With Garoppolo?
Yeah, we'll get there because we haven't gotten to the AFC West yet. Houston, I've got beating Indianapolis in week 2. I've got them winning on the road in Atlanta in week 5. I've got them beating Arizona in week 11, and then knocking off Cleveland in week 16.
Feeling good about that CJ Stroud pick. Let's go.
Games that they shouldn't win, but they're going to. And it's really hard with as many teams as we have with such terrible records. It's really hard to win only 2 games or to win only 1 game. And so the way that I worked out the schedule, the same way you did, I've got them both finishing 4-13 to round out the AFC South. Let's move on to the North. And a quick reminder, if you're watching the show live, make sure you leave a comment. As you've seen, if you've been watching for a minute, we'll read the comments live on the air. And I will read Trey's later on because that's coming at the end of the show with Homer's Corner. But let's transition to the AFC North, Bill. I'm going to start us off here. The AFC North, it shouldn't be much of a surprise as to where I've got the Bengals winning that division once again. A lot of talent all over the field with the Bengals. They were this close to winning the AFC once again last year. I've got the Bengals going 15-2. Bill, who you got winning the AFC North?
Wow. First of all, holy cow. Wow. I also have Cincinnati winning the AFC North. I think Joe Burrow is going to go to really neat heights this year. I think being this far into his career with the injury troubles in the past, I think he's going to be really, really good again this year. I have them at 13-4 winning that division.
So not too far behind where I've got them. I've got the Ravens finishing Yeah, 15. Listen, they continue to get better every year. And
They
then I
do.
think barring injury, I think the Bengals can go 15-2 this
Have they
year.
fixed that offensive line? Like the
Time will
worst
tell.
passing offensive line in the NFL.
Time will tell, sir. But next up on the AFC North, I've got the Ravens. I think we've got identical picks here for number 2 in the division. And if I'm not mistaken, I've got the Ravens as your second to last wild card team at 11-6. Bill, you have the Ravens at 11-6 as well. Do you have faith that Lamar Jackson, now that he's got this big money contract, is going to be all in, and you
No,
add
no.
Odell Beckham Jr.? Like, do you think they're going to? I mean, 11-6
They've
is a
got an
good football team.
I almost said all-star, a Pro Bowl backup, remember? Because, the joke of the Pro Bowl that they
Oh
invited.
yeah,
Yeah. And then he won the passing competition.
I I
Can't
I
even throw the
don't.
ball in a real game. Wins the passing competition. Oh, it's just another reason not to watch the Pro Bowl games.
Well, the we've got a little bit different here to round out the AFC North. That my faith in the AFC North ends with the Baltimore Ravens, and I think the Steelers are going to break their streak of what is it, like 14 or 15 straight years with a winning record.
Yeah, I
I've
agree.
got this. I've got the Steelers finishing 8-9 in third
No
place.
quarterback play. No
Yeah,
quarterback play.
and I listen. I like, and of course, I'm drawing blanks here.
Kenny Pickett.
I like Kenny Pickett. I really do. I think he's got potential to be a great quarterback. I don't know much about the rest of the offense in Pittsburgh, so I've got
I
them
don't think
going.
anybody. I don't think.
I mean, you've got
I don't
a
think.
really good
I don't think Kenny Pickett knows about the offense. Who you throwing the ball to? I have no idea.
you've got a really good running back,
What's the
right?
kid from the Georgia receiver that they drafted? I forget his
George
name.
Pickens.
George Pickens. That's right. I
Yeah,
think he'll be
Pickens sort of emerged as a good receiving target for Kenny Pickett, but I don't know. I don't have much faith in him. 8-9 is not a terrible
Najee
team.
Harris.
Najee Harris, yeah.
That's their running back. Yeah, he'll be okay. Again, I have them in fourth. I don't have
Yeah.
them finishing third. I think Deshaun Watson starts to get some of his magic back a little bit more this season.
So for that reason, you got them in third. What do you have the record?
I have the Browns in third at 9-8. They actually have a winning record. I think that there's a lot of roster. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that roster. You still have Myles Garrett. You got a pretty good front four in that group. They actually have a pretty decent offensive line, I believe, and you've got running backs. I mean, you got Nick Chubb is still the running back there. That's scary. They weren't awful last year and didn't get a lot of quarterback play. I saw a statistic, Ryan, that there's a statistic out there that throws into the end zone, completion percentage for throws into the end zone. Do you know who the worst passer into the end zone last season was?
I'm assuming you're going to say Deshaun Watson.
It was Deshaun Watson. He completed 8% of his throws that were thrown into the end zone. That was by far the worst. The next worst was Kenny Pickett. Now, and he was at 15%, 8 to 15%. Patrick Mahomes finished 30. You know who led the division or led the NFL? To a man. 52% completion percentage on throws into the end zone.
How about that?
Yeah, but Deshaun Watson, if he increases that number, which you would think that he will, 8% is really bad. I think you and I would get close to that, though, in the NFL. But I think if that goes up, they're going to be a little bit better team.
I think Jacoby Brissett had an opportunity to take that job with the way he was playing during Deshaun Watson's suspension last year.
Played pretty well.
And then he fizzled out, and Deshaun Watson couldn't get into a groove. So with a full off season, getting to start, come week 1, I'm with you, but I've still got the Browns going 5-12. Like, yeah, they have a decent roster.
Wow.
But there's too much talent. They play too many good teams this year. And so I don't have faith in the Browns being all that great. I'm sure I'm going to have some people in the comments or watching live disagreeing with me. So if you disagree, please feel free to comment so we can read it on the air, and I can just take you to school. Let's move on here.
5-12.
Yeah, 5-12 is not a good season. Listen, I don't have faith in Deshaun Watson. Like,
I don't either. I don't either.
Well, I mean, in fairness, you said that you think he's going to get better.
He was really bad last season.
He's never going to be the Deshaun Watson that was a Pro Bowler in Houston.
Is there a reason why? Is there a reason why for that? That was a terrible team in Houston. All they had was DeAndre Hopkins.
Until they traded away DeAndre Hopkins, that Houston Texans roster was a perennial playoff team. They had J.J. Watt and a young Jadeveon Clowney on the ends.
Not his last. Not when he was at his best, Deshaun Watson. That was a bad roster. That was after they had started making all those goofy mistakes with
I thought they traded away Hopkins, and Watson didn't play again because when they traded away Hopkins, he was frustrated and was like, "I want out too." and then instead of getting traded right around the NFL draft, all the allegations came out that he was
Well,
inappropriate
he
with people
had a
giving him
great
massages.
season. He had a great season that year, right? And I'll say all the time that quarterback play is what wins you games in the NFL.
Yeah,
He had a great season his last season that he played with Houston, and they went 4-12.
I'm with you, but
So
that's
there's something else wrong with the roster. If he's throwing for all these touchdowns, he has a 100 passer rating, and he's fantastic, and not turning the ball over. Something else is wrong with that roster.
well, he's never going to do that again. Be it Cleveland,
It's a good argument.
He's overpaid. Obviously, he's overpaid in Cleveland. He's. I don't think he's. I mean, yeah, he's got some decent receivers in Cleveland, right? But I think sitting out the year because the allegations came out and then the Texans decided not to play him. Like he was going to sit out anyway, but the Texans decided to let him sit out. I don't think we take into consideration Le'Veon Bell did it. I don't think we take into consideration what sitting out a full year in the NFL will do to somebody's confidence,
Disaster.
to someone's ability. And I think between all the stuff all the stuff off the field and the fact that he sat out a healthy full season in the NFL, something's wrong. Something's wrong up here with him. And I just don't think we're ever going to see that Deshaun Watson in the NFL again.
Fair enough.
Maybe in the XFL. Maybe the Browns realize they're paying him too much money, and towards the end of his contract, they let it go, eat some salary. And I don't think he'll. I mean, he might retire. I don't know.
He's making a tremendous amount of money this season. Well, the next few seasons. So.
But if he's like AJ McCarron and he's made all of his money, he wants to go play football. He can go do it in the XFL.
All of his 72 kids can. He must have a lot of children. I mean, he had no encounters with half of Houston, so I don't know. There's a lot of women. We'll see.
That'll.
I was just saying that's the reason that McCarron went to the XFL. So
listen,
children can watch him play.
He is no Phillip Rivers, who are expecting their 18th child. I don't know if you saw that news, but
crazy.
Wild.
That's crazy.
Let's move on here. Let's go to
He's trying to create a football team 11-on-11 is what I think Phillip Rivers is trying to do.
At this point, he's close. He's close.
It's like one a year for
the last. I mean, at once I thought he was going to stop at a flat 17 to stick with his jersey number, and now he's like, you know what? I'm gonna go Peyton.
Shouldn't we have a reality show on that at some point?
I hope he doesn't.
The River Runneth.
Maybe
like that.
Maybe he's shooting for LaDainian Thomas's jersey number, and he's aiming for 21, and then he's going to stop. Yeah. I mean, talk about a guy who doesn't believe in birth control. I mean,
I think we need more info on Phillip Rivers and all his kids because you got to figure if you were to wait 9 months between every kid, right? The first kid has got to be like what 15 or 16 years old when you're having an infant.
If he's having his 18th kid,
yeah, I mean, if
one of his kids has got to be 17. One of his kids has got to be ready to graduate.
Every 9 months, you have to wait. Every 9 months, like kid pops out, get the wife pregnant. Like that's crazy.
What if the 18th? What if the 18th comes out Asian? Like it doesn't even look like him, but it's his. It's just something got mixed up because he's had so many kids, and some sort of DNA just got.
I think that's possible, right?
I mean, listen, I'm not a scientist. I am no Neil deGrasse Tyson. Or,
every meme I've ever seen about that kind of stuff just popped in my head.
Right. Let's move on here. Let's go over to the AFC East. Some interesting developments in the AFC East last season as the Miami Dolphins were the last team in the AFC to be unbeaten before the injury to Tua Tagovailoa. Multiple concussions last year sort of derailed what the Dolphins looked like they could do last season. Obviously, the Bills pushing for a late playoff push, a late number 1 seed push last season, playing Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals. The most famous occurrence to happen in pro football probably this century with Damar Hamlin going into cardiac arrest and them suspending the game and eventually canceling the rest of the game. Damar Hamlin has been cleared and is practicing with the Bills here in training camp. Bill, how do you have the AFC East playing out this season?
I'm changing it, Ryan. I gave you. I'm changing it.
That's fine because I should. We talked about the Bills and the Dolphins, but the biggest addition to this division is Aaron Rodgers to the New York Jets.
Voldemort.
Most people will talk about the fact that that's their new sexy pick now. I still don't have faith in Aaron Rodgers. Let's get into it. Who do you have winning the AFC East?
I still have the Buffalo Bills winning the AFC East. Actually, I gave you a pick. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll change it on the fly here.
One game in the whole thing. All right. So
Okay,
I
so
still
where do
have
you have the
I have Buffalo at 12-5.
Okay, yep.
Miami at 12-5. The Jets at 11-6. I just flipped one of the Miami Jets games.
Okay, so you've got the Jets at
That way it
11 and
doesn't hurt anything
6.
else. Yeah,
You got the Jets at 11 and 6 and the Dolphins at 12 and 5.
correct. And then New England, yes, goes 4-13.
That's I mean, listen, that's
They just are going to get steamrolled by that entire division.
I'm with you. So
New England loses 6 games out of the gate because they have to play against everybody else in their division.
let's
Twice.
start off. Let's start off here. We both have the Buffalo Bills winning the division. You've got them at 12 and 5. I have them at 15 and 2.
Wow.
The only
Man, you
games
think that there's going to be these amazing teams.
the only games I have Buffalo losing is at Cincinnati and at the end of the season when Cincinnati's already all but wrapped up the number 1 seed, I've got them losing to Miami. I've got Miami beating Buffalo at the end of the season to give Cincinnati the number 1 seed in the AFC. Uh,
Okay.
I've got the Dolphins. Now you and us talking, you changed your Dolphins pick. You had
I
the
did.
Dolphins
I did.
in third in the division. I've got the Dolphins at 14 and 3. I have faith in them. I had faith in them going into last season. They've got a new helmet that Tua can wear that's going to reduce concussions by like what 2.4%,
8%.
8%. Either way, it's better than what he went through.
It is better. It is an improvement.
Last season. So I've got the Dolphins improving on last season. I'm hopeful that Tua can stay upright for the entire year, and as long as he can stay healthy with Jalen Waddle, with Tyreek Hill, with the stable of running backs that Miami has, that not a lot of people are talking about, and then
A-Chain.
Devon A-Chain, the rookie running back out of Texas A&M. I think there was a list of like the fastest 50 players in the
They are the
NFL.
fastest team in the history of the NFL.
And there's like between Waddle, Hill, and A-Chain, they're all in the top 25 of the fastest guys in the NFL. So I really like the Dolphins to continue to build this season at 14 and 3. I do not have the Jets being any good. I said it last year that Aaron Rodgers was garbage. I said the Packers are going to be trash, just like Aaron Rodgers was going to be trash. And just because he got traded in the Jets doesn't mean all of a sudden he's going to be able to turn stuff around. You know why he took a pay cut to rework that deal with the Jets? Because he knew he was getting overpaid.
Oh,
because he's not the same quarterback he was 5-10 years ago.
That's hardcore.
You know, you want to talk about losers? Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl. 1. You know who else has 1 Super Bowl win? Brett Favre. You know who also left the Packers to go play for the
Brett
Jets?
Favre a loser?
Yeah, he's overrated.
Wow. That's a hot take right there. Holy cow.
He was a gunslinger, and he knew how to throw the football. And I think had Bounty Gate never happened, I think the Vikings win that playoff game against the Saints. But Aaron Rodgers wants to be Brett Favre so bad, and he's doing a great job. 1 Super Bowl with however many MVPs that he has, and however many winning seasons they have, and however many years the Lions had to deal with Aaron Rodgers just destroying them every single season. Hail Marys to end games in Detroit. All that punishment and all that suffering that Detroit Lions fans had to go through. And Aaron Rodgers has 1 Super Bowl to show for it. I don't know how he's got 2 or 3 MVPs. I don't care. He's not that MVP status quarterback that he was. He's going to a Jets team that it's excited everybody, right? They've got some nice young talent. Their star young running back got hurt last season, so they sort of piddled around with a couple different running backs last year. And the defense is supposed to be good. But it doesn't matter when your quarterback is over the hill, overrated, and until he took a $33 million pay cut, overpaid.
So, Ryan, in 2015, when Aaron Rodgers had a passer rating of 92.7 at the end of the season, was he overrated? Was he overpaid? Was he bad? Was he
in
not a Hall of Fame
2015?
quarterback? 2015, yeah.
I mean, that was 8 years ago. He was in the
I know.
finals.
I'm just asking that question. In 2008, after he put up a season in 2007 of 106 passer out, that's his first real season. In 2008, he had a 93.8 passer rating. That was on his ascension. From that point forward, he had an amazing career. But in 2015, he had a speed bump, Ryan. He had a terrible season. 92.7 passer rating. Was he overrated?
I don't know if he was overrated that season, but the idea that everybody puts Aaron Rodgers on this giant pedestal
What do you mean
for
on a
the
giant pedestal? The man has a career passer rating of 103.6.
and you earlier in the show, you called Justin Herbert a loser
He
because
is.
because he's played in one playoff game and he lost.
And his passer rating was almost exactly the same as Aaron Rodgers was last year. The
Oh,
guy doesn't put up stats, and people keep getting excited about him. I don't understand it.
listen, regardless here, the point being like I don't want to say this.
I have statistics to back up my arguments, Ryan. I build my arguments based on
You
statistics,
can you
not
can
that I'm a Detroit Lions fan.
you can bring all the statistics that you want, but the fact of the matter is that everybody gives certain quarterbacks bad rap, or they put these certain quarterbacks on a pedestal for being so great,
He was
and
Aaron
and they
Rodgers is great.
he was a great quarterback, but he has one
We
Super
don't
Bowl.
know if he is done yet. We don't
He
know.
is. I'm telling you right now, he is. You heard it here first.
He
Aaron
might be.
Rodgers.
The age might have hit him. It finally hit Tom Brady at 45.
Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets will miss the playoffs. I have them going 6-11, and then I've got the Patriots a little better than you've got.
Sorry,
5
Dad.
and
We did
5
the
and 12.
NFC last week. We're sorry. And I think you're more concerned with the NFC East.
Oh yeah, listen, yeah,
You have to go back and watch last week.
yeah, Bill. We've got there's a link on the Facebook page, and we're gonna have to show you how to get podcasts on your phone. We did the NFC last week, so wow, that's funny. Glad to see your dad in here, man. That's good stuff.
Right? Let's see. Quickly, I had the Giants finishing 9-8. That's
Yeah,
what Dad would care about.
Yeah, and I had the Giants finishing 8-9, so kind of right there with each other. But yeah, and then so like I said, I've got the Patriots in the AFC East, one game better than you. Have them at 5-12. Same reason that I gave the Colts and Texans 4 wins is that it's really hard to lose so many, especially with Bill Belichick at the helm. I don't see them losing.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Wouldn't it be great if they just stink now and he never passes Don Shula? That would be so much fun.
As a Dolphins fan, I'm sure you would absolutely.
He's like 70.
Love
How
that.
old is Bill Belichick now? Like 71. He's got Pete
he's
Carroll
old.
age.
We talked
And-
about Aaron Rodgers being old. Bill Belichick is old.
Yes. So I would love for him to retire like a couple games short of Don Shula, and it's all because he drafted Mac Jones.
Yeah.
That would be so great.
Yeah. We're running late. We're going to be running late, so let's try to get through the AFC West.
All right, go. I'm ready.
No, I'm not going to zip through it. We're going to take our time here. But last season, I had the AFC West as the best team, as the best division, top to bottom, in the NFL. And I don't think I have one division that sort of stands out this year. Looking at all my standings, I think it's fair to say we both got the Chiefs winning this division at 14-3. I mean, there's not really much. The defending Super Bowl champions.
I'm not filling out a whole bunch of 15-2s like you are. You're like Oprah with your 15-2s. You get a 15-2 and you get a fit. No, I'm not doing that. I think the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC still.
Listen, the Chiefs. We've only got them losing 3 games, and one of them is 2 that will eventually be the number 1 seed in the AFC and the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Chiefs, a consensus 14-3. We've both got the Chargers in second place in the division. I've got them at 9-8. You've got them at 10-7. You really don't think that Justin Herbert's going to be able to push them any? I mean, listen, I've got them with a worse record than you do. But do you think? Let's see. Do we have the chart? Do you have?
Do I have to? I've taken a massive steaming pile onto Justin Herbert this entire show. Do I have to continue to tell you how little I believe in that man?
I'm more curious to see what's going to happen with Austin Eckler. With the offseason that he's had, he's decided to come back
fantasy-wise,
play.
I'm concerned. Yeah.
But I'm not just fantasy-wise. Like, if Austin Eckler gets hurt, he's ruined his chance for a long-term, big money contract. Not that he's going to get one.
Right.
But the Chargers are going to have to rebuild a running back.
Yeah.
Listen, the biggest difference I think we have in all of our predictions. In third place, I've got the Broncos at 7-10, which is only a game higher than you have them.
Right.
But I think the Raiders are going to stink, man. Tell us your predictions on number 3 and number 4 in the West.
So I have the Raiders at 8-9. I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't understand the Jimmy Garoppolo hate. I just don't. So I think that's going to be a big sign for the Raiders. It's going to be a whole lot better than people. I don't understand. I just don't understand it. Jimmy Garoppolo is a better quarterback than Justin Herbert. He is. Period. Done. I'll put it right now. Yep. Look at this. Look at the career stats. I don't have to. I can just write it down for you, and you'd go, "Oh, which guy?"
Woo!
Without putting their names on their statistics. I'd show you their statistics, and I guarantee you'd pick Garoppolo. Guarantee it. Well, actually, you wouldn't because I've told you how bad Herbert's statistics actually are. you'd know which guy he was.
So
And then
you
I have Denver at 6-11. I love Russell Wilson. I am a Russell Wilson fan, and I might wear a Seahawks Russell Wilson jersey next week. Probably not, but I might. I like Russell Wilson. I just don't think I have to see it first. He was magic
uh,
when he was young, but it was a lot of athleticism, and I think that's kind of gone away.
last year proved to me that if Geno Smith can come in and be a Pro Bowl quarterback in Seattle, then Pete Carroll could have
Ooh,
done whatever he wanted to do with Russell Wilson. Similar to Aaron Rodgers, I think Russell Wilson's best days are behind him. That's why I have the Broncos at 7-10, which is good enough for third in the division.
yeah.
But listen, my gripe isn't with Jimmy Garoppolo. It isn't with Josh Jacobs. It isn't with Devontae Adams. They traded away Darren Waller because Waller didn't want to be in Vegas anymore. I don't have faith in Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, who should?
I
Mean,
have
really,
no faith. If you put Josh McDaniels in Cleveland, they wouldn't win a game. I've got the Raiders at 3-14.
Wow.
I think the Raiders are going to be absolute dog turds this year. They're going to be
With the
bad.
best running back in the NFL and
one of the top 3 receivers in the league.
And a guy that is, in my opinion, a good quarterback. And probably, yeah, like you said, top 3, maybe the best receiver in the league. You think they're going to go 3 wins?
Bill, you got a shout out in the chat. Roy Stevens coming
Roy, what's up, my man?
Watch the
Look,
show.
Roy, I busted out the Zach Thomas, and because we're doing some count out or shout outs for Hall of Famers this week. Not really, just Zach Thomas.
Yeah, listen, they can have all the talent in the world. We saw exactly what having great talent and terrible coaching could do with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. The year after Urban Meyer gets fired mid-season from Jacksonville. The next year they win the division. That says all you need to know.
Yeah.
Urban
Meyer's terrible coach. We could go on. I could go on about that as well. Trade Adams. You go 3-14.
Yeah, Kyle Bessemer coming into the chat. He also says no way that Adams sticks around for a bleep show like 3-14. Listen, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I don't know if he sticks around. I think he
buy me a Garoppolo jersey. How much?
I think Adams. Well, Adams went and signed an extension in Vegas. I'm pretty sure because he thought he was going to get a former college teammate Derek Carr for his career in Vegas, and that's not happening. So I would not be surprised if by the end of the season or by the trade deadline, obviously, that Devontae Adams is out of Vegas, which is good for him because you don't want to see him have his talent wasted. Not that he's going to have his talent wasted with Garoppolo.
He had a great season last year.
Yeah, but I digress. Bill, that puts our playoff picture looking like this. We've both got the Bengals in the playoffs. You have them as the 2 seed. I have them as the 1 seed. You've got the Chiefs as the 1 seed in your playoff rankings. I've got the Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs in the top 3. We basically have all the same division winners. The difference is that I've got the Dolphins, Ravens, and Titans in the playoffs. You have the Titans. No, now you're going to switch it out.
I switched it. Yeah.
So we have the exact same playoff teams, just in a different order in the AFC for this coming season. It's been fun. And Kyle Bessemer chime in one more time that Devontae Adams is going to pull a Moss. Did the same thing years ago to get out of Vegas, or at least out of Oakland at the time. So some good stuff there. So yeah,
Garoppolo is going to light it up, man. Watch it.
Next week we're gonna simulate and play out our playoff picture and see where we're gonna have who's gonna be participating in our way too early Super Bowl predictions on the show next week. We're gonna get to Homer's Corner, but before we do, we got to pay one more bill here and talk about One Stop Repairs. Established in 2008, One Stop Repairs in North Charleston, South Carolina, is your one-stop shop for all your electronic repair needs. Specializing in cell phones, tablets, computers, laptops, and game consoles, One Stop Repairs offers reputable and quality service with the quickest turnaround time and the most competitive prices in the Low Country. You can find them on Google with an exceptional 4.9 star rating or on Facebook by searching for One Stop Repairs. Call Zach for a quote today at 843-343-6310. That's the number 1, One Stop Repairs. Bill, we are up against it, but let's get into Homer's Corner because we don't have much to talk about here this week. Your part of Homer's Corner has to do with your Florida Gators
right, man.
and where they're looking at not this coming season, because
Not this coming season.
I think they're going to
It's
finish fourth in the East this year, in the SEC East, that is.
throwaway season.
But they're right now they're looking good for a nice recruiting class coming in 2024.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about it.
2024 recruiting class, the Florida Gators are now number 3. Number 3 on the board between powerhouses. Now, granted, the Florida Gators used to be a powerhouse, right? Unfortunately, one of us could say that about our college teams. But we could say that Florida. That's awesome. But yeah, used to be a powerhouse, haven't been recently, and now they're the number 3 class in the 2024 ranking behind Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Oregon, LSU, Penn State. You don't hear Alabama on that ranking, do you, on Rivals.com? So I feel pretty good about my team going into 2024. DJ Lagway, man, that's our quarterback, 5-star. Let's go. Anyway,
Listen,
that's Homer's Corner for me. I'm excited about it. I know this year is going to be a throwaway year. We have Graham Mertz as our quarterback, the Wisconsin quarterback from last season. So
I'm going to take a shot at you right here. Texas A&M had the number 1 recruiting class going into last season.
Doesn't matter.
And they finished with a losing record. Oh yeah, I agree. Jimbo Fisher's terrible.
Yeah, I like our coach. He went 12-1 at Louisiana 2 years ago. So in Louisiana, what they do last year, nobody knows because they weren't anywhere. So
well, I'm going back to the well for my Homer's Corner last week because last week I talked about North Carolina being an early favorite against South Carolina in Charlotte. Well, it was announced not long after we recorded our show that College Game Day would be kicking off 2023 in Charlotte for the North Carolina-South Carolina game. A lot of people were thinking it's because Drake May is going to be in his final season. They're expecting him to be a top 5 or not number 1 quarterback drafted in next year's draft.
Second quarterback.
Bottom line is that everybody can come and doubt the Gamecocks. And I should mention, that's what Trey Tolles came to chime in earlier.
Can I come and doubt the Gamecocks? I'd love to.
Listen, if you want to come, let's go and let you doubt the Gamecocks. But Trey Tolles, that's what he mentioned earlier. He also chimes in. I'm really disappointed that Florida isn't on the 2024 schedule. We both are.
I am too. Ryan's making me go to the game this season where I get to watch the worst Florida team they've had in the last 10 years.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, nevertheless, everybody's going to be coming in. I'm sure Corso's going to put on the Tar Heel head. And when the clock strikes 0 after the game, Carolina is going to show everybody why they are picked to be one of the best teams. The Carolina, and that's South Carolina. They're going to show everybody why they're one of the best teams on the rise in all of college football. Bill, this has been a phenomenal show. A lot of talk about AFC predictions.
I get to get heated again too. Yes.
This has been fun. Anything that you wanna present to the audience before we sign off here?
Justin Herbert is not a good quarterback, should not have been paid the amount of money that he was paid. I think I'm going to end with that because if anybody wants to come at me, I'll just hit you with stats and then you won't be able to argue.
Yeah, I mean, 14,000 yards and 94 touchdowns through 3 years is, God, those are awful stats to be paid.
96.2 passer rating, and he's gone down every season in the NFL.
That's okay.
Last season, only 25 touchdowns. 25. You get $50 million. Get out of here.
Well, I want to give one quick shout out to everybody who watched a live stream, everybody who chimed in the chat between PJ Steven, Jeff By Jr., Desmond Johnson, Eddie McDonald, some of the commenters, your dad, Big Bill Tomer, James Beach.
We could have him on one week. We could have Big Bill on one. No, I'm kidding. He could talk about his Giants.
I don't know if he could figure it out, honestly, but nevertheless, Aaron Thompson for joining the show.
Roy.
Roy jumping in, Kyle Bessemer, Trey Tolles, everybody that listened to the live stream tonight. Make sure you come and follow the show on social media, facebook.com/tapouts and touchdowns, on Twitter @tapouts and TDs. Go find the show and follow us on YouTube. Make sure you share with your friends to let them know when they can come and watch some of the best football talk. You can always come in on Mondays or Tuesdays and watch PJ Steven and I go at it about pro wrestling. And then you can always find me on the Cat Cave as part of the Keep Pounding Podcast Network, powered by the Fans First Sports Network, also on the Tobacco Road Sports Radio Network every week. This has been a great show. Thanks for everybody who joined and participated in the show, and we'll see you next week. For Banker Bill, it's your guy, Billy Rye. We'll see you next week right here on Tap Outs and Touchdowns.